Most of the time, we can strike the right balance between being prepared, which then leads to a strong performance. Then there are those times when we don't feel prepared, and that usually affects our performance in a not so good way. Gosh, that's an awful feeling, isn't it? It's not an easy feat to embrace how we approach the work and then how we should perform it. Sounds confusing? In this episode, let's look at the ways we can prepare ourselves for the audition, which then becomes an accomplished performance. Preparation to performance on this episode of Casting Actors Cast.
It's time for another episode of Casting Actors Cast. Here he is, your host, Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello, and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting director Jeffrey Dreisbach with McCorkle Casting in New York. How are you? I hope you're having a good day. I'm having a good day. It looks like spring is in the air. It's just those little hints that spring is just around the corner that makes me feel so, energized, excited. It's so nice that you're here today. I can't wait to share this subject with you today because it's so important that we have a perspective on how we prepare the work and then actually translating that into how we perform the work. That's all coming up on today's episode. But first, this is that moment of the podcast where I get to simply say, thank you so much for tuning into Casting Actors Cast. We've been doing this podcast for about 3 years now. It's all about helping you, the actor, get better at your acting, at your career, at the business of show. And that's what I'm here doing. That's what I've dedicated my podcasts for the past 3 years to do, is just to help actors the best way I know how. I'm offering advice, tips, suggestions, all kinds of things which I think are going to be really, really useful. They're the kind of things that I wish I had when I was an actor. I also just want to put a shout out to my good friends at Actors Connection. Boy, this is a great organization. If you're not familiar with Actors Connection, actorsconnection.com/New York. It's an amazing opportunity for you to work with professionals in the industry, including yours truly. I have occasion to do some teaching at Actors Connection as well. It'd be so great to meet you, but here's the whole thing. It's all online now, which makes it so amazing. But you're going to be working with industry professionals who are currently working. And those folks are doing everything from casting to being an agent to being managers, other professionals who can really give you additional information, skill sets in a like-minded community of other actors. It's all done online, and it's a really cool place. I encourage you to check out actorsconnection.com/New York. A little housekeeping before we jump into the subject at hand. I did an episode a couple podcasts ago. By the way, we're simulcasting these on YouTube. In other words, I do a video recording of me doing the podcast. So if you want to check that out, then please do go to YouTube and type in Casting Actors Cast so you can kind of take a look at what I'm doing. But if not, and you're listening, I'm so glad you're here. It's very cool. So let me just say this. A couple episodes ago, I did a really kind of what was really a fun podcast all about side hustle gigs that actors can do that are still like performance-oriented jobs. It's called, non-acting side hustle acting jobs. And I mentioned several in that podcast, in those podios. And then I got an email back from a listener who decided that I should know about this other kind of really cool opportunity for actors. And I'm going to read his note to me right now and pass this along. So this is from Mark. He says, "Hello, Jeffrey. Another suggestion as to how one can make money with their acting skills is by being a standardized patient for medical students who are in medical school. In my work as a standardized patient, I have portrayed a heroin addict, a workplace accident victim, a person suffering from mental illness, and a man recovering from heart surgery. Not only do these portrayals help keep my acting skills sharp, They help future doctors learn to communicate clearly and effectively with their patients. Anyone interested in becoming a standardized patient can check with a medical school or teaching hospital for opportunities that might be available. Gosh, Mark, that's from Mark Hamilton. Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate that. You know, I'd actually heard of this as a way in which actors can get gigs, but I never met one. So it's so nice of you to be able to pass that along. So just like Mark, you're welcome to go to the website castingactorscast.com, castingactorscast, all one word.com. There's a place that says jump into the talent pool. It gives me your name and your email address. There you can ask me a question, you can make a comment, you can leave me a review, whatever you want to do. That's fine with me. But guess what? If you do that and you submit that information to me, by the way, I don't do anything with that. But what that'll do for you is it'll open up another menu of choices, including a free book called Conversation Pieces Out of the Studio, the voiceover workshop for professional actors. Additionally, there's a 20-minute video called Casting Secrets, What They Don't Want You to Know. But guess what? I'm going to tell you in this free 20-minute video. See, the whole thing I'm trying to do here is to just get like-minded individuals to work together so that you can have a better go of it as far as not only your acting, but your acting career and your life in general. So I'm out there trying to do the positive spin on things to hopefully give you a better opportunity for those opportunities. Okay, that was weird. Anyway, I'm just going to go on. I'm just going to keep talking. I don't try to over-edit my podcasts as it is. So let's jump into the subject at hand first. Preparation. That's the first step. When you have an opportunity presents itself, you now have to put your head on and talk about preparation. I need to prepare for this audition. Now, the thing about preparation, and I think most creative people kind of fall into this category, and that category is what I call perfectionism. That really means that you put your headspace into a place that says, I need to do this perfectly. I need to understand this perfectly. So if you can embrace preparation and perfectionism, I think that there is a great way for you to approach that preparation work. Now, I know perfectionism has got such a kind of a bad rap, right? It's like you have to do it perfectly or it's not worthwhile. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about preparation, perfectionism, using the same sort of checklist, the same ways to approach the work. The first thing that needs to be done in your preparation is to simply understand the objective. What is the objective of the preparation? In other words, you say, okay, what needs to be done? Whether you have a script to read or whether you have sides to prepare, whatever that is, you simply have to decide the objective is that I am comfortable with my level of understanding of the script that's in front of me. Simple. The next thing to make a decision about is to really decide on the steps to take. What are the steps that you need to take to feel more comfortable, to feel prepared for this particular audition? Now, some actors decide, well, I just have to memorize it. Well, you know what? I think that that's not really that helpful. I do think that there are all kinds of additional steps that you can take to really analyze the script that's in front of you. So just decide on the steps first before you start deciding how you're going to do it. What are the steps? Well, I'm going to try and read the script this time for the objective of the character. I'm going to read the script this time to figure out what's the relationship between me and this other person I'm having the scene with. So just decide what the steps are. And then next, what tools make sense for those steps? Memorization isn't one of them. What is one of them is what I've talked about in many podcasts before, and that is the acronym I use called PIRR, P-I-R-R. Plot, intention, relationship, reaction. Plot. What's the story? What's the story being told? Now, if you just have a 2-page side, for example, then that story might be easily understood. It might be just kind of plain and understandable. 2 people having a discussion in the hallway of a workplace. Okay, that's good. What's taking place? What's the story? What's the plot? The next is the intention. And the intention that I'm talking about is not the character's intention in the scene. No. What I'm talking about is, why did the writer write this scene? Once you understand what the writer wrote the scene about, you're going to be in a much better place to understand how your character approaches the other character or characters, if there are more than one. So plot, intention. The third is an R, and that stands for relationship. What's the relationship to the person or persons you're having a scene with, a meeting with? Who are you talking to? What is your relationship? Is it a coworker? Is it a lover? Is it a parent? Is it a brother? You see where I'm going? So the relationship really will help shape and define how you're going to play that character. And the last R, I know it's weird, the acronym PIRR, the last R is reaction. How are you affected by the relationship? How are you affected by the words that the writer has given you? How are you affected by the story that's being told? Plot, intention, relationship, reaction. So those are the steps you take. And then, of course, you simply have to do the work. You have to answer those questions. Make sure that you cover all of those questions: plot, intention, relationship, reaction. Once you do the work, it's now time to hear yourself in the role. And part of that really has to do with just sitting down and doing the work. Now, I'm not talking about memorizing the scene. I am talking about hearing the character in your own voice as you work on the script. That's worth repeating. Hearing your voice come through the character on the script. You see, every script, every role you play has to be your voice, your uniqueness, your sense of self through the character. All right, next, visualization of the outcome from the work. In other words, I don't want you to visualize the audition, but I want you to visualize you booking the job. I want you to visualize you playing the part, not in the audition, but actually booking the job. How is it going to feel when you play the part? That's really kind of a cool forward-looking way. And that also releases a little bit of that nervousness that you might have because an audition is coming up. So visualization of the outcome is really an awesome way that you can think about, yes, when I play this part, this is how I am going to feel. And that could be an excellent feeling. And that's really a great way to sort of circumvent some of those negative voices we have in our head. Next, make an active decision to leave the work and then just focus on the performance. It's not how you're going to play the part, but what are the thoughts you are thinking while you are playing the part? That's character immersion. That's the way that you can really kind of embrace how this character behaves. Acting is behavior. So once you do the work, now you're making the decision and you leave the work part behind and start just thinking about the character, the performance. So that's preparation. That's all you need to do. I know that's a lot, but when you have a systematic approach to your preparation, then we can go into the second step, which is what we call performance. Now, where preparation is relational to your perfectionism, performance really, I think, is better phrased by calling it creative malleability. Creative malleability. In other words, try not to recreate the work. Don't try to recreate what you rehearsed. Have enough confidence in the fact that you're prepared to be able to make interesting choices. Don't freeze your performance. Give yourself credit for that you've done the work. Trust your experience. Trust your talent. And then bring in your own new sensibilities into the work, because new circumstances can mean new opportunities to make interesting discoveries in the audition. The best auditions I ever see as a casting director is the one in which the actor does not try to recreate what they rehearsed, but more importantly, they make an active decision to have the best rehearsal they have ever had. It's just a mindset shift, but I think it's an important one because it's less about you being judged because of your performance and much more about you showing me how you're going to play the part. And then you need to free yourself from any self-talk that's taking place in your audition or in your performance. Now, I know this is really hard because our training, whether it's a university or conservatory or high school or graduate school, whatever it is, we are also taught to be objective about our work while we are doing it. And I think that's very, very dangerous. And if you get into that as a habit, it gets even harder to break. So freeing yourself from self-talk is really about concentration, your level of concentration. Now, I know you've heard this term from directors in the past, but being in the moment is not you thinking about how it's going at that moment. It's much more about how your character is being perceived and how you are perceiving by others. Also in the moment is the same thing as having new information in front of you. Every time you have an interaction with another character in your scene, in your audition, it's new information. And if you can make that as a discovery process for you, then you're going to be able to give us really interesting, fresh, spontaneous reactions to that information. And then I want you to enjoy the performance. That's hard. But from audition to performance is another step that actors don't spend a lot of time on. The thing that I respond the most as a casting director is when I get that sense of joy from that performer. Listen, if I could figure out how to do that, I would be very, very wealthy. But the joy of performance is something that can't be taught. When you enjoy the performance, that really is about understanding and embracing why you want to be an actor in the first place. So that is something to think about, enjoying the performance. So we have these two worlds happening. One world is preparation, which is your perfectionistic side, your control, your intellectualizing, your working on the script, you're taking the steps, you're doing all of those things that you do to prepare. And then shifting into the performance side is creative malleability. That means that whatever happens, you can go with the flow, that you can decide that the character is going to go in a slightly different direction. As long as you trust your training, as long as you trust your past experience, feeling like any audition is just like a fantastic rehearsal is so smart. Also, when you book the job or you do the callback, treating the callback, treating the performance as if it's still an audition, still an opportunity for you to find creative moments that you otherwise didn't expect. It's not just about recreating moments. It's about always discovering new moments with your concentration. In life, as well as in your acting, feeling prepared and being prepared might actually be two different things. Once you have that sense of accomplishment that comes with the preparation, it becomes a matter of just mentally transitioning and moving into a performance. And when you perform, all the work that you have put into your audition will pay off. Why? Because you trust your training. You are in the moment and you are fully aware. Understand that preparation to performance is a process. Perfection, shifting into creativity, is the same thing. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach. Thank you for joining me today. We hope to see you on the next episode of Casting Actors Cast.
Thank you for joining Casting Actors Cast. Please don't forget to review, like, and share Casting Actors Cast wherever you get your podcast videos. Thanks. I'm Megan Grace Martinez.